Sales are easy. It's making the call that's hard. Hi, my name is Dave Gallegos. I've spent the last 25 years in the mortgage industry and a lifetime in sales. In this show, I'll bring that experience, expertise, and the experts I've met to you with actionable advice to improve your sales. It's not magic. You just make the call. Hi, everybody. It's Dave Gallegos from Make the Call. This is a podcast that is for salespeople, primarily in the mortgage and real estate space, but anybody in sales can benefit from us. And today I have a special guest, somebody that I've known for several years now. His name is Dale Syta.
Got it right.
Dale is a local leader here in the market with a team of LOs. I don't know how we met exactly. I think it was through Joey Abdullah initially.
Yeah, and CMLA.
Yeah, and CMLA. And so I invited him to be on the podcast today. And so thanks a lot for coming, dude. I appreciate it.
Love it. Love talking shop with industry professionals. I think we do it enough in today's age.
I don't think we do. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great takeaways and messages that need to be shared. I think it also is just a prime example of leading by example, right? Are we on the camera? Are we talking about the key issues of the day? And so I love it.
Right on. Well, let's go back to, pre-womb. I'm just kidding. Let's go. Tell me about your family. I don't know anything about your background. I know a little, but I don't know. So share with folks like where you're from, where you grew up, where you went to school, your family, and then
Yeah, we'll take it way back. So grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. My dad was in the military, so I moved there when I was 2 years old. So grew up in a military Air Force house. A lot of times you move around, but my family was able to stay in Alaska.
Nice.
They do live here now. My parents have moved to Parker now, but brother still lives in Anchorage, Alaska. Grew up highly competitive. Got into sports. I don't know how. Primarily, on a military base, you're just running with kids. The cool thing was I was running with kids that were much older than me. So from day one, I was always like in this, you got to compete environment. Like,
Are you a younger brother or older brother?
My older brother, he's 4 years older. But I grew up in a non-athletic family. My father's an engineer, brother's an engineer. I'm not an engineer. I'm an extrovert. Everyone else is an introvert. So it's interesting just because of those dynamics though. Running around with older kids, I was kind of faced, it was forced to compete from day one. I was either going to be the last kid picked or find a way to compete against, older kids in the neighborhood, bigger kids. That, for whatever reason, that was instilled for me from day one, right? My parents, they never forced me to do anything. Everything I've done in life, I kind of believe in this personal potential component that I just want to do what my capabilities are within something. When I, maybe the flaw of that is when I feel like, I've kind of tapped out or have reached that ultimate goal for myself, I really lose interest in something.
Yeah.
So I've gone from all in to all out on a number of things in life. Ski racing was my sport growing up. Wanted to be on the U.S. ski team. Grew up in Alaska racing against Olympic champion Tommy Moe and others on the U.S. ski team. So again, compete or not compete, and that pushed me along in my my life. Ski racing, I used to ski upwards of 200 times a year. Now, when I quit, I've skied maybe 5 or 10 times total, and that's in 10 or 15 years.
How long ago? In 10 or 15 years?
Yeah,
really?
College.
Wow.
So junior year of college, I decided that it's time, we're not going anywhere with this.
Where'd you go to college?
University of Nevada, Reno. So started, and there's a backstory there, but I started my freshman year in Alaska at UAA, primarily because I didn't get a job that summer like my parents suggested that I do. I was forced to stay home, and then I transferred my next couple of years. Moved to Colorado in '96. Was destined to go to graduate school for physical therapy. That was what I wanted to do in life. And there was a debacle with graduate school. Got accepted 2 weeks prior to showing up. They said, "Hey, we made a mistake, and we've got too many people in the class, and we don't have room." So moved to Colorado, not knowing what I was going to do. Started managing a restaurant, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. My good friend's father owned that one and two in Las Vegas, and we had a lot of fun in our mid-20s managing a high-end steakhouse. It was pretty special. From there, I moved into some wine sales for a couple of years. So I sold wine in Cherry Creek in downtown Denver. Kind of had a lot of the premium restaurants, and decided, hey, it's time to do something different, something that I know absolutely nothing about, right? Because ironically, there was all these 30 and 40-year-olds coming into Ruth's Chris, eating there 4 days a week at this high-end steakhouse. And I'm like, what the hell do you do? We're in mortgages. Okay. So
somebody's making a lot of money.
Someone's making a lot of money. They're young, right? And so when it came time to make a change, I went down, and the individual's name was Guy Cartang, and I knew Guy from the restaurant. And I said, Guy, I'm looking for something to do that's different. He said, come on down, right? Come on down. Day one, he handed me a rate sheet and 3 phone numbers and said, good luck. I remember my first call, I called a client. I full disclosure, I didn't know what a mortgage was. I mean, that's literally the truth.
That's a lot of folks that way.
And he was standing over my shoulder, and I'm talking to this customer, and I'm like, yeah, come on, we can do that. And he's like, we can't do that. We can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Let's get your information in here and see what we can come up with. And hung up the phone, and he said, well, we can't help the guy. I said, well, you didn't help me. So, here we go. Here we are 25 years later, right?
That's funny.
I've been blessed. I think the industry by and large, if I'm looking at it over a long period of time, it's been really good. I think so many of us in this industry are trying to define stuff by what cycle we're in, right? How are things? We're looking at, 20 and 21 were these bang out years.
Amazing years.
That's not normal.
Yeah,
It wasn't normal.
No.
If we look at 25 years since 2000, we've really only had a few years that weren't really, that great. That's how I view it, right? I also don't look at it as, what's the market? It's today's Wednesday, right? I think it's Wednesday. So what do we do today to be successful today, right? It's not about, where's the market headed or whatever. It's like, what are the behaviors that are going to drive, success in today's market? We learn from, these other cycles, but I think so many people are focused on what used to work or, what things were versus, what are we focused on today? As much as I think the industry has maybe changed in some regard, I also feel that it's very much the same, right? The fundamentals are the same. And
I'd agree.
So
I'd agree. You're married?
Married, yes. So we haven't talked
about. Skipped. We
talked about my parents.
It's all about you.
So yes,
you have a family,
beautiful wife Farah, and a young 4-year-old daughter. So I'm 52. I have a 4-year-old daughter, Sienna.
Yeah.
That's certainly
52. You look good.
I'm active. I try to stay active. I got to chase the little
chase
one
a 4-year-old. Yeah.
But I just believe
you need to stay young because she's got a few years to go.
Yeah, God willing. I mean, that's just one thing that I feel like I've been blessed to do some pretty cool stuff in my life. And I feel like, that's one thing that I just feel like I hope I'm blessed with as many years possible to witness, her grow. And
wow.
hopefully we can do some cool stuff together too.
That's cool.
But yes,
cool.
What's
your daughter's name?
Sienna
and Farah.
And
what's Farah doing?
Farah owns her own nails business and has
cool.
for many, many years. Truthfully, it's an ATM business, folks. I mean, the people like their nails.
It's amazing, isn't it?
The ladies got to get their nails done.
I can tell you for sure, my wife loves her nails.
They don't forego
it. It's like, do you own stock in a nail salon?
You should.
Yeah, she spends a lot of money. I go and get I'm a pedicure.
You're a pedi guy?
Yeah, dude, I love getting a pedicure. I love it when my feet look good.
Okay.
I never did it, and then I went. I don't know, probably 15 years ago. The first time my wife's like, "You really should go get one." And I was like, why? Because I'm just used to seeing my feet look gnarly, like they could pick up a small child, And after they did them, I was like, that looks pretty nice. That's actually
it does feel good.
And then you get all the calluses. I have dry feet, so I get all the calluses off. This is a mortgage podcast, I promise.
We know though, however, that I'm certainly not getting mine done by my wife, right? Because what you do for work, you sure as hell don't want to bring home.
No, yeah, for sure. No, and
all right, we digress.
And then I take my dad, who's 91, and nobody's taking care of him anymore. So I gotta he needs a manicure and a pedicure. So make the call. I started this just because of this premise in the mortgage business. I think this will resonate for you. Before I got in the mortgage business, I had all kinds of sales jobs that I did, and none of them were that important to the people I did them for. They were important to me. So if I sold, like wine is a good example. Yeah. It's like I'm selling wine I mean, people like wine and that's important, but it's not that important. It's just wine and actually not very good for people in the long run, right? Like we know that if you drink too much, it's a bad thing. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's just like, well, I sell wine. This is what I sell. I sold things like that. I sold goofy things. Before that, you know, like my first job was sacking groceries at King Soopers. My dad worked at King Soopers when I was a kid. That was a primo job to get. Like all my friends were jealous that I got hired at King Soopers because it was a great job. $2.88 an hour in 1976 was good money. Gas was like 50 cents a gallon. So it was good money. And all my friends were like, man, you got a job at King Soopers. And so, yeah, it was a great job. Met my wife there. And so my whole life has revolved around that. But when you have a job at King Soopers, you have a schedule every week. And your schedule says you could be on the schedule at 10 o'clock, you have to be working. And you work for 2 hours. And you take a break for 15 minutes, you go back to work for 2 more hours, you take a lunch for 30 minutes, you go back to work for 2 more hours, you take another break, and then you're done at the end of your shift. You work an 8-hour day. And Make the Call, the premise behind Make the Call is the coolest thing about the mortgage business and the real estate business is that your time is your own.
Yeah.
The most difficult thing for most loan originators to overcome and real estate agents to overcome is that their time is their own and they get to decide what they get to do all day. I reposted a thing from Brian Buffini. It was great. He said, he goes, we surveyed like 7,000 real estate agents and we asked them what their number one activity is today. You know what the number one activity for real estate agents is? Running errands. They just run errands.
Yeah.
And that's their number one activity. It's the thing they spend the most time doing every day. And I say, like, well, it's probably the same for originators too.
Yeah.
The second most, I can't remember what the next 2 items on the list were. The point is that this job has so much potential. And that's what makes it such it was a life-changing job for me because it was the first time in my life I sold something that mattered and it gave my career purpose. Like I never thought I would have that. I just was like, you work for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And this was like, wow, I'm working for something. The money's been great and it's been life-changing, but it was the first time that I did that. And that's when you realize like, wow, there's so much potential in this business. And so many people struggle with how to manage that time. And I don't know if it's a motivation thing. I don't know if it's a discipline thing. I think everybody has ambition. I think a lot of the reasons people the only reason you would take a full commission job, in my opinion, the only reason you would take a full commission job is because the reason I did it is because I didn't want someone to tell me how much I was going to make.
Yeah, your ceiling.
And then that's it. That's all. This is what we pay you for that job. I didn't want that. I wanted I want to get paid. I'm willing to not have a guarantee if I can just get paid what I produce, because then I'll just produce. Yeah. And so that's what I loved about the job. And so I think that's one of the things that made me a pretty good producer when I was still originating. And so there you go. That's the premise behind all of this. And from your seat, I know you lead a team and you've led a team for a while. What's your perspective on that? What is your take on and what you see in the way that people do this job?
I think I couldn't agree more with a lot of that. I think it's something that we continue to analyze over and over and over and try to understand what's the psychology of our employee, what are the industry hurdles and all this. And I do think at the core, you have to have that there needs to be a driving purpose for that, right? And I agree that, hey, why are we in sales? Because there's a ceiling. But I think the industry also has multiple models, right? You have people that are, for instance, there's maybe service providers that might work in a strictly in a bank that they understand the complexity of a mortgage and they can talk someone through that, but right. Maybe they're not a great hunter, for instance. But yep. I think from by and large, when we talk about the bulk of the top originators and so forth, I think that we would agree that those are probably some sort of independent type individual at a IMB, a brokerage shop, etc. Those people, for whatever that reason is, I think they have this clear depiction and goal of what they want to achieve, right? And that's, yes, there's the mechanism like you talk about in terms of, hey, am I fulfilled by this job? Do I like what I do? Do I find purpose within that? Some people come from a place of, I just want to make money. I mean, that like right or wrong, there is that. Other people feel like, hey, I'm helping people with, this largest thing that creates families and foundation and community and
Right.
home ownership. And there's that philosophy too. But when you strip that away, it comes down to this premise of, am I a disciplined individual, right? I mean, that time, we know we can use that time however we want. We know that if I do errands with that time, that's not going to, build a paycheck. Okay. There's never really been I heard this statement the other day on another, podcast educational thing, because I continue to try to pour in myself, but it's like, have we ever not earned a paycheck? Making the call, going on the appointment, doing the activity that's how we get paid, not doing any of the things. Right.
Right.
And from a fundamental standpoint, the psychology, I think there's how many people do we really think in this industry that are still viable and originating don't actually know what they need to do? They know.
Oh no, I think
they know.
I think everybody knows what they have to do. I think if they are not sure, there's an unlimited supply of knowledge available.
Mm-hmm.
God knows. I mean, you're all getting marketed to daily to sign up for whatever coaching program or new marketing deal is out there. So the information is plentiful.
It's there, right?
Yeah.
And so
and the knowledge is, if you don't have the knowledge, it's like, well, you're I don't know. Yeah. You have the knowledge. You know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. So what determines whether I'm going to do the activity?
Steve Scanlon really well.
I am actually coached by Dan Decca on his team.
Okay.
And
Steve Scanlon said this
Rewire,
once,
right?
really. Yeah. Steve Scanlon said this once. I was like, this is great. When he dies and he goes to heaven, I think he said, I'm going to ask God why he made bacon taste so good and why you have to motivate commission salespeople. Because all the motivation is in the commission salesperson part of that sentence, right? Like, hey, your commission, sell 1, we pay X, sell 2, we double it.
Yeah.
Sell 3, we triple it, and sell 10, we 10 times it.
Yeah.
I don't need any motivation. I'm going to go sell 10, right? So I got all the motivation I need.
Yeah. And so I go back to like DNA. I mean, I don't know that there's fact behind this, but again, going back to my upbringing, right? Like, athletics was my foundation, and I learned very quickly through athletics, right? That there was a principle that one of my coaches used to say, and he was like, listen, we're looking for aerosol. Okay. Aerosol is this concept of consistency. You get, hairspray was a thing or whatever. I mean, deodorants, whatever is an aerosol. You press that button, a product comes out and it's consistent, right? And how do we create that consistency? You got to check these boxes over and over and over and over. And, this replication, these foundations. And so that was just instilled in me, right? But it was my choice whether I was going to do those things or not, right? I never had that parent that was like, hey, you need to do more of this, or do you need to put more effort in that. Like, I will generally tell you that was part of my DNA somehow, that just said, hey, we do these activities, then we earn the right to the outcome that we desire. By the way, we don't guarantee the outcome we desire. I just feel like we've earned the right to the outcome we desire.
I like that.
Because
I like that.
Nothing we do, whether we could get on a phone call, we know the activity. We could call, and we still might not get the outcome we desire. We could go on these meetings. We might not connect with people. We might not get but did I earn the right to the outcome that I desire? Right. And I think we know and don't know whether we're doing the activities that deserve the outcomes we desire. And so, I look at the industry now and go, okay, what are the elites doing? Right. They have a process. They have a repeatable process. And by the way, in many cases, it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's repeatable. They know what calls they're making on what days. They know their follow-up mechanisms. They have processes, whether they're highly dynamic or, highly simple, but they're repeatable. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it has to be something that we can repeat and be consistent. because then we can judge our activity, see what the results are, make modifications.
Right.
Okay. So I think the top performers are willing to go there and track those things. What did I see the other day? So 30%. So the top 30% of originators, and this goes into probably real estate as well, are now doing 86% of the business. So basically you're telling me the bottom 70% is competing for
14%.
scraps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how are you going to stand out if you're in that 70%, right? We're in a world of pros now. This is an industry where pros are standing out, right?
Yeah.
The people that are evolving, willing to try new things.
I showed our team the Scotsman's Guide just came out, the rankings of all the loan officers. I grabbed all the Colorado loan officers on the list, 157 loan officers on the list, top dollar volume, did 16,700 transactions
Last year.
157. 4 of my guys are on the list, which is pretty good given
Kudos.
the size of a company.
Yeah, totally.
And as a company, my little company did 3% of the 16,000 units, 16,700 units. So nothing.
Yeah.
Like if, and my point, and then when you look at all the business that's done in the state of Colorado on an annual basis, I think it was, I can't remember what the number was. It was a crazy 70 billion or something. I can't remember what it was. It was a big number. Like there's so many loans being done every day that all you have to do, they're going to be done whether you do them. I showed them the people on this list. I go, you see this list of all, these are the top originators. And if they didn't do those loans still would have been done. Like if any of those loan officers got out of the business, the customers that got their loans from them would still get loans. The point is all you have to do is get in front of more people. That's all you have to do and be competent.
There's a DMAR graph that I love. It's one of the, there's a, they have their monthly report, and it's like an EKG. And this goes right into your point. And that EKG, it's almost like year over year, the rise and fall when transactions are taking place. It's almost identical, the amount of transactions, purchases that have taken place over the last 30 years. It literally is this, what looks like an EKG. And it's like, okay, our job is simply to be part of this EKG. How do we get our piece?
Get in front of those people.
Get in front of those people. Because to your point,
they're going to do them anyway.
They're doing them.
We don't sell.
And whether we're in business or not in business or whatever, right? So it's like, hey.
And that's the point, is that we're not selling a product that we have to talk people into getting that didn't want it.
Yeah.
Like that's selling. Like if you're selling somebody something, they don't want what you sell, but you have to convince them they need what you sell.
Yeah.
We don't sell that product.
No, correct.
That would be hard to sell, I would think. I don't know. I've never sold any. Maybe I have sold things like, sure I have. And yeah, I have sold things like that. Those are the things I got paid to sell that I didn't make a difference. It was like, it just wore people down, but that's not what we do.
Yeah.
I've always said loan officer, almost everybody has ambition. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. Everybody wants six-pack abs. Everybody wants to live in a mansion. It's not the ambition, I think, is the issue. I think it's not the desire. Ambition and desire are kind of the same thing. It's why do you want those things? And is the why strong enough?
Understanding what it takes to get that, right? I think we're in a society now that it's very instant gratification, right? It's everything.
Oh my God.
Everything,
right now.
Everything is press button, get results, quick food, quick money. And I think that is one of the disconnects, right? I mean, if we're being honest, even if we look at, can we look at all these storylines of people that we, look up to that have had success, and it was a snap of the fingers? No, it's not, right? I mean, even myself, it's almost like in some regard, a portion of society wants you to make you to feel guilty for having some success. Going back to my younger years, I started life with a paper route, and then, I printed T-shirts in this just stinky, lab with dealing with chemicals, cleaning those screens. I mean, I painted condos and did roofing, and then, I drove kids to school at YMCA, and then I worked at a contractor warehouse in college that was, like a Home Depot, valet parked, like so. that, like, it's a progression, right? And even within the sales cycle, and I think this is one part of the industry that, I continue to try to determine, I think we're doing a very poor job of recruiting young talent in the industry. I gotta, that's a whole topic for another day. What's the average age of a loan officer is now? I think I heard the latest was 54. But if that's true, why is it? Largely, in my opinion, because accumulation over time. Okay, that they've been in the industry likely longer. Those 54-year-olds, by the way, they're not new to the industry. They're 54-year-olds that have been in the industry
10, 20 years.
10, 20 years. They've gone through some of the battles. They've learned from transactions.
Pretty jaded.
They are, let's be honest, we're really at this point, a lot of recruiting is simply borrowing someone for a period of time, renting them for a period of time.
Sure is.
You're not getting anyone with fresh ideas or whatever. They're in many cases. That doesn't, by the way, we're not making them out. I'm not saying they're bad people.
No. It's we're just moving them around.
Yeah.
Moving them around.
And we're really competing for the same people. But when you look at that success, they go, okay, well, the things that we're talking about, they've just talked to many people over 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it or not, they might not have even done a great job in many cases, but they've just accumulated this body of work. They have all these fractional gains. They've learned, they've been through difficult transactions. That's what's largely making some of these people successful. Okay. Some of them do have true disciplines and systems and teams and are doing just banner work. One of the things that, you talk about filling your day, right? How many times, Dave, have you heard this? Well, if I didn't have to be in my loans, I would have more time to be out selling. I literally want to choke out every loan officer that ever says that, okay? Because it's a load of shit, okay? Like, we know that the day
that's funny
is not being leveraged with, to your point, the King Super style of performing duties throughout this 8 hours for 95% of LOs. Okay. I mean, I just got back from a corporate function in Dallas. Top producer does $100 million of production a year. And he said, hey, I golfed 75 times last year. Okay. Well, by the way, you might be golfing with, realtors and agents and business. My guess is that he wasn't in many cases. Hey, it doesn't mean that you have to be, you have to be disciplined for a set amount of time, that you're just doing these sheer activities of prospecting, right? Does that have to be 8 hours a day? Not necessarily, right? But I think most people can't even find an hour or two to be disciplined with those activities.
Maybe even an hour or two a week.
Right. An hour or two a week.
Yeah. That's the thing about the business. The time is your own. So that again, I think that's the most challenging part of it. The other one, and this is from a coach that I've worked with in the past, if you're not doing enough business, you're not talking to enough people. Tim Brahim's line, which is the loan officer with the most friends wins. It really just does come down to that. I love the part about, if I wasn't so in my loans, I would have more time to do business. It's because, well, is that based then on the quality of the work that you're doing when you originate the loan, when you take the loan application? Are you turning over a file that's ready to be underwritten and approved on the first look? Because that's on us, right? Like, at the end of the day, that is still something that is part of the loan officer's quality of work and the experience they're going to create for the customer through the process, because customers hate when loan officers or processors, oh, I need one more thing. Oh, I need one more thing. I need one more thing. Like, your customer satisfaction score is dropping 10 points every time you do that.
Crap in, crap out.
Yeah.
Right. How, I mean, that is true. But what's funny, again, when we talk about so much has changed in the business, but so much is the same. These topics of taking a quality application. It's been talked about for 25 years since I've been in the business. Okay, since I've been in the business. So these same principles, they're nothing new, right? It's just mind-boggling how quickly that, well, and then you have this line in the sand. Well, that's that's an operations thing to deal with. And not, no, actually we're a team. And that's the way that I largely approach our outfit is sales and operate. We're not lines in the sand. We're one.
Yeah,
right.
It's not sales and ops. It's one company.
We're one company, one team. Yeah. And whether the consumer knows every individual that touches a component of the file or not, there's a lot of, I think we know that there's, a lot of resources that are involved in, creating that ultimate package and approval. I heard something the other day that really resonated with me about just business development. And it's like, whatever gives you the most anxiety is what you should be focused on for right now. Right. Like start there.
Yeah.
The point is you want your business to grow. Think about what in your business gives you the most anxiety. Start there. And
give me an example. What do you mean?
Means like, hey, if I have call reluctance, that gives me anxiety. I need to make more calls.
Okay.
Right. If I'm afraid to be on a video or a camera, start there. I need to be doing that thing. Right. And truthfully, there's a lot of different ways to be successful. Right. We're not all going to do things the same way, but there's some principles that continue to stand out and resonate as we're fast forward in this ever moving world. And that's, hey, are you able to be found on social media? Okay. Love it or hate it, social media is important, right? You mentioned Buffini the other day. I was listening to something. I think he was talking to Neil Dingra or something, and he talked about referring maybe his grandmother or something. I mean, it was referring a 70-plus-year-old to a real estate partner. Okay, so this individual reached out to him and wanted a referral for, to buy or sell a real estate. They came back to him. So he offers up this referral. They came back. This is a 70-plus-year-old. Came back a few days later and said, hey, we checked him out on Instagram and everything checks out. Thank you that was a good recommendation. Okay. So we know that we need to be on social media.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. If they can't find you, you don't exist. Okay.
Right.
So how is it that we can talk to consumers? We can meet consumers. We're the educated individual. We're the one that has all of the knowledge, the skill to navigate this market of home ownership. And I can't talk about it in front of that camera. What?
Yeah, I always think that, the thing that makes, I don't know. I always laugh when somebody tells me, I don't like the way I look on video. And I was like, it's a mirror. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Dude, this is what you look like. And so when somebody says that, it's like, you got to get over that. That's like not a thing. And you just got to be out there doing that. I don't know. It was maybe this was never a big deal to me. As soon as I started doing video, I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. I can just do this. I didn't give it a lot of thought. My wife gives me a hard time sometimes. Like she'll see me on video. She goes, did you see what your hair looked like? I was like,
I don't have
I
that
just
problem.
went, oh yeah, sorry. She goes, you really deep. I'm like, you're the only one who thinks that because you care how your hair looks on video. That's the problem. And so when you have that thought, like it really matters. So it's like, no, it doesn't really matter. It really matters what you're saying and what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And if somebody thought your hair was messed up, I always laugh about this. When I see a loan officer criticize other loan officers' material online,
they're not online.
And they're not online, or they are, but they criticize other people's material online. I always go like this. I'm like, they're not marketing to you. Just to be clear, they're not, you're not their target audience. Just so you know, they're talking to clients and they're talking to referral partners. They're not talking to you. And so I think that's something else that gets past that. When people start thinking, well, I don't know like they're afraid of what other people are going to think, is like, okay, the consumers and the real estate agents, no offense, realtors and consumers, know almost nothing about mortgages.
Yeah.
And we are the experts. I wouldn't start talking about all the ins and outs of writing contracts on houses. I can muddle through, but I'm not an expert. I would have you talk to a real estate agent, and same with
CPA, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but when it comes to a mortgage, what do you want to know? And whatever question you have that I may not know the answer to, I know how to get it and I won't BS you. So if you're knowledgeable on your subject matter, you should have no problem being out there explaining it, being the one who educates, being the one who is, because you're right. People Google whether you like it or not, they're either going to check you out on social media or they're definitely going to Google your name. And if you're not showing up with anything of value and they can't find you, well, then like, I'm going to keep looking. if they find you and it's very scattered and it's not very professional, it doesn't seem like it's put together, like, and they get two names, then yeah, that's going to be a problem in this day and age.
A couple things that kind of stand out. You talk about like a Scotsman guide or something, right? And obviously there's real pros in this business, right? But there's a lot of people that we kind of just like, people idolize or look up to. And I don't know if it's...
That's a really good point.
I
think I know where you're going. Go
I don't
ahead.
know if this is a me thing, just because of, again, my upbringing and my competitive spirit, but I've never like, I don't look at any of those people as like if I was selling against them, I would feel like I have a viable chance. Like,
absolutely.
Like I literally...
Oh, no, I don't like, ever,
and
I don't ever like, I think probably when I first, maybe my first few years in the business, but as soon as I started to get to know people, in fact, I was standing next to Steve Scanlon at a sales master. We had to make sure he watches this. His name's come up twice now. I can't stand that guy because I'm the mustard guy.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
he has the story completely. Let's just get it out there on the record. He's embellished that story so poorly that what he talks about didn't happen. Anyway, we're standing at a conference at a Todd Duncan sales mastery. And this was back before the meltdown. And it was when the pay option arms were the thing.
Yeah.
There was a guy up on stage. I can't remember his name. I think he was from Utah, and loan officer, who was talking about how he had just done a loan for a customer. He got paid $25,000 to do this loan for this customer. And I was like, there's only one way that can happen, with a 3-year prepayment penalty and the highest possible
point,
the highest possible margin on the arm,
premium,
right? Like the highest margin on the arm, right? And I was like, wait a minute. Does that customer know he just paid $25,000 to this loan officer for what he's done for him? I guarantee you the customer didn't know that. And I turn around and I looked at Steve and I go, is this what we're doing? Like, that's what we're putting up on stage, that like we're supposed to emulate that because that guy's a snake.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, he did like a $500,000 loan. He got paid 5 points for it. The customer has no idea this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And he's not helping, and he's burying him in this loan. Like, the guy can't, if the guy tries to get out of that loan, he's going to have to pay this huge penalty. I thought, I'm all about fair compensation, and yes, we provide a value, but when you're taking advantage of people because they have no idea, it's what led to the mortgage meltdown. And so
I worked with a guy that charged family 4 points. Family. Okay. High regard I have for this individual.
It's always in the eye of the beholder, because we talk about this industry and we talk about we were talking about this before we got on. Let's go on the subject a little bit of price exceptions and what I think has led to the demise of professionalism in sales. As I'm going to be a great salesperson. I'm going to get the price. It's a fair price, because I don't think anybody's out there getting 4 and 5 points on mortgages right now. And I always feel like everybody's pretty close in price.
So let me stop this real quick, because do you think that to that point, obviously companies benchmark, right? Pricing, right? So you say, hey,
we do.
Look, like who, I think most do, right? They say, hey, where are we amongst our peers? And look, we want to be in the top 10 to 15%. And we know that you're never going to be the lowest, but we're competitive, right? Yeah. Do you think that the loan officer, not really in many cases understanding the corporate, where margins are, where, costs and all, do you think that plays into the mentality of most of them have zero understanding?
None.
And because of that, it really almost creates a level of because it's always, hey, we're just going to discount this because, something's better than nothing. But there's no,
actually something's not better than nothing.
Right. But
it loses you money.
But there's no money, right?
There's no money. Yeah. I think that's definitely part of it. So a lack of transparency about how much things really cost to run a business, any business. I think we definitely could do ourselves a favor. I think that it started with leadership. there's been a high level of greed in this industry because there's so much money floating around and potential. And then the lack of transparency that creates, because ownership doesn't want to be transparent and then really share what's really going on. And then on the other side, it leads to salespeople thinking like, well, you guys are making plenty of money. There's all this other money you make on the back that we never see. So I just need the price exception. And so we've tried to create, that's one of the reasons I did what we did here, which was to be an independent mortgage bank so that I could actually do that. We started that. Like I show people the balance sheet. Like here's the balance sheet.
Yeah.
Let me show you how this works. Because here's a great question you can start asking your loan officers. I don't know if you have any P&L models that you manage for people, but I always like when a business at the end of a month loses money. So, they paid all their expenses, they took in all the revenue, and there's a negative at the bottom, not a positive. It's like if they made $100,000, they made $100,000. If they lose $100,000, where does that go? Where does the loss go? And most people will be like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what do you think happens?
Yeah, is it?
I don't know what happens. Like, well, this is important to understand because people don't get what a balance sheet is.
There might be an account over here that has a set amount of money.
Better have. You better have some money over
right?
here.
And
right?
now all of a sudden that just went like this. Chink.
Yeah, it just went down.
Chink.
Right.
Right.
And so people don't, and that's, so it's not, so to some degree, leadership is at fault for not sharing how business works. I'm talking business 101. It doesn't have to be in the mortgage business.
Yeah.
If I ran a nail salon, like we have to explain how this works. We have to pay rent. We have to pay for insurance. We have to pay for product. We have to pay for these chairs. We have to pay for maintenance. We have to pay payroll taxes. We have to pay medical benefits. We have to pay all these things cost money.
Yeah.
And in order for us to pay for all of that, we have to bring in this amount of money. And if we don't bring in this amount of money, it's a negative.
And I'm going through this exercise as we speak. I mean, so yes, I do I'm in charge of a P&L myself, and
right.
Profitability is it's a real thing, right? Where's our theoretical break even? What are the levers that we can control to be profitable, right? And I mean, some of them are easy, right? But then people are, but to your point, if we're running a tight ship down here and these have negatives, how can we rectify that? You can always say, hey, more loans solves all problems, right? But if we're not doing the activities and things to generate more loans, then all of a sudden we're impacted by things like staffing, challenges and cutting and now all of a sudden, you become the bad guy, right? And it's, no one has enjoyed any of that. I can assure you that that's I think if there's one thing that I've been, that's probably some of the most difficult stuff that I've done as a leader is have to, downsize and make those adjustments. If you're recruiting and you do care about people, you don't just have a bunch of warm bodies, at your company. You hopefully you like these individuals and care for them and want them to do great things and have happy families and all those fun things, right? So it kind of stings to have to make those difficult decisions.
Yeah. And
this industry's been, I think that's what's been tough maybe the last few years has just been finding whatever the bottom is, what the new norm or what is this cycle, right? Because I've seen various stats, so I hate to say what's right or wrong, but are we down something like 40 to 50% of employees from 20 and 21? Something like that.
Yeah. But I mean, we were overstaffed. I mean, we weren't overstaffed. We were staffing up. Everybody a lot of companies just throw people at the issues and they're not. So it's one of the things that we're going to focus on going forward is like, we got to focus on profitability and we're not going to be shy about it. It's like, guys, we have to make profit. That's a company, all businesses.
Yeah. And
if you want to work in a mortgage company that isn't focused on profit, then you're going to be changing shops a lot because you have to make a profit. The industry, this has been a struggle for the industry for a long time now. It's been like, we were fortunate is that we were been able to sustain a level of profitability that was not money losing, which is like, that's not, I'm not saying we sustained a level of profitability, but it wasn't like, hey, we're throwing a parade. We everybody, I think that's been an issue industry wide for a while. We keep waiting for things to turn around. And I just think it's a new dynamic now.
Yeah.
And it requires a different level of commitment to.
That goes back full circle to this. Hey, sales individuals, what's this mechanism that if you give latitude of, say, 25 basis points, or if it's in another industry that, hey, you have authority to cut up to this. I think I think it's a fact-based thing that sales individuals will cut before consumers even.
You ever read Crush Price Objections? Have we talked about that book?
No.
I'll give you a copy before you leave. You'll love it. And you'll want to buy it for everybody on your team. And it talks about that as like salespeople should not have pricing concession power.
Yeah.
Because they're going to give it.
Yeah. They give it without rebuttals.
Yeah. If you give them, one of the big national lenders, their name rhymes with a golf thing. They were doing this a while ago. Like you could go 100 bips under par. I'm like, 100 bips, geez, or 200 bips, get the deal, right? Like, I'm like, how much is in that rate sheet? Because then now the prices get higher and higher because that's what's happening in a company. I don't want to run like that. I want to run like, this is the price. There is no wiggle room. If I give you wiggle room, you're going to take wiggle room. What I'm essentially telling you is we're charging them too much.
Right.
And like, we're not charging them too much. We have a very fair price. We're always in the market. Yeah. Can somebody beat me today? Yeah. And you know what? I can beat somebody else today.
Yeah.
And what happens when this is a great podcast that I listen to.
That's a great
what
point.
happens.
I love that line.
What happens is if I quote a customer 7% today and they call you and say, hey, I'm getting 7% over here. Can you do better? Yes, I can. I can go 6 7/8 today.
Yeah.
And if they call me back and say like, hey, they can go 6 7/8, can you do better? And if I keep doing this, like, okay, stop. The answer is, dude, that's a good price. Like, what, do you not like the service? Do you not like, because like now we're not even, when we let ourselves be commoditized, we get what we deserve. And I just think that that's where there has to be a pricing discipline. And this was something that was always really important to me because I took a lot of pride in not getting shopped. I had this horrible situation that happened to me very early in my career when loan amounts were $120 and I'm doing a $120,000 loan. The customer beat me up. I ended up doing it for a point. Back when I split with the company after the fees, I split with the company the revenue on the loan. I did the loan for a point plus the fees. I had to pay the fees to the company. And so I'm splitting $600. Because I'm splitting $1,200. Yeah. That's what I'm splitting $1,200. I should have gotten paid $1,200 for the loan. Yeah. I'm splitting $1,200. I actually went to the closing and I'm sitting at the closing. I felt like a schmuck. And I even said that. I go like, sitting to myself, I go, I feel like a schmuck sitting here waiting for a $600 check. I am never doing this again. I am never cutting my price again because I believe in what I sell. And the reason that I believe in what I sell is because I know the advice that I give you is valuable. The reason I know that is because I got 3 mortgages before I got in the mortgage business. And all 3 times I didn't get ripped off, but I got terrible advice. Nobody counseled me on different ways to structure the financing that would have saved me cash flow or payments or both. And all 3 times, there were last minute things to do. And the cash to close number always changed. The day of the closing, the cash to close number was always different. And so it was like, I don't do business that way. And this is why we do business the way that we do it today. And that's why I said, I know I'm worth what I'm charging you.
There's a few things that resonate with that with me is number one is, how do you value yourself? Right.
Exactly.
I mean, okay, because I will tell you.
This is a great conversation. We don't have enough time. I can already tell.
I spend a lot of time investing in industry knowledge and expertise, going to seminars and applying, so I do believe that I'm a pro as it relates to my invested interest in this business. Right. And so with that comes a price. You said something about that's the way I do business. I don't do business in my own life. I expect people that are going to earn a living. Okay. That doesn't mean, if I go buy a car, I don't go, what are you making? That just, listen.
Yeah. I've never asked somebody that question.
Okay. An attorney, I don't go, what's the cheapest attorney that I could get for this task and hope that I get the outcome I want. And I get there. Listen, we are in a more commoditized industry, right? That there's, there is some pieces there, but like I look at it and go, number one, my value is high because I'm good at what I do. Sorry. I mean, I've been working hard at it. Okay. So that piece of it. And the other thing is, hey, people have to earn living, so those very people that are talking to us, it's a matter that they're doing something in life and they're getting a paycheck. Yeah. If someone's saying, hey,
today we're not going to pay as much.
Yeah. What?
Nobody says that.
What do you do? Are you good at what you do?
One of the things that I think is important that we don't talk about, and that's why you're going to love that book, is that I don't think leadership invests in this particular skill. I think leadership gives it lip service and tells people, okay, you can do a quarter, or you guys did too much, but they don't give them any coaching and they don't give them any strategies for how to prevent them. Because that's the number one way to overcome a price objection is to never get it. Yeah. That's the first thing. So it's price objection prevention. And then the second thing is knowing that, understanding your value. And one of the things in this business that I think is pretty common, and tell me if you agree, is that you get a lot of loan officers who walk around saying, have said this or thought this. I can't believe I get paid this much to do this. If you've ever said or thought that, then you might have a problem with your perception of the value that you're providing. And I would challenge anybody who has thought or said that to take a step back and decide if you are proud of the person looking back at you in the mirror and whether or not you are providing the value. I'm not saying you're not worth what you're getting. I'm saying, do you believe in the value that you provide for what you get paid to do it? Because if you're not sure, the customer can sense that. Like the customer can sense it. Like I can sense it when I'm talking to somebody who's like, will you pay me this much? I'm like, well, I don't know. Do I have to pay you that much? Because like if you're gonna dicker with me,
I would agree with that. And the other piece that I believe that loan officers are guilty of in many cases is their anxiety about the market and the rates and things. They're creating their own price exception, their rebuttal. So they're not comfortable with 7% rates. So their customer isn't, right? So they're not able to actually provide the solution that says, hey, talk to me about what concerns you in this transaction. This marketplace, what do you understand about it? And what are the key components that we can focus on to control affordability in this market for you, the consumer, right? So if I'm coming in right up front and working with that consumer to identify their concerns, not, by the way, generalize, okay? Because so often I think we just assume that, hey, you're concerned with the home price or you're concerned with it. Like that's not necessarily the case, right? We talk about, millennials and, look, I've talked to millennials that have a boatload of money in the bank, a great job, great credit, and they're ready to buy. And I've talked to others that think that home ownership has sailed, right? So we, number one, can't assume that all of our customers are the same, but we need to identify the areas of concern, be able to speak to the market and what's how we win in this market is X, Y, Z, right? And when you do that, like you said, what happens? This pushback, this shopping that starts mitigating, right? Now, the other thing is important to understand is no matter how great we are, you will always lose some deals to shoppers, okay?
16%.
Okay, always.
I have a number.
Okay.
That's one of the things in this book is there's a percentage of people that are always going to be shoppers and you need to get rid of them as soon as you can.
Amen.
Yeah. Right. Do not, you don't have to close every deal.
Some of the largest disappointments in myself in recent time is that I actually allowed myself to hang in the game when I knew it was going back and forth. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, Dale? Yeah.
I had one really later. I had one guy, he beat me up. I agreed to waive a fee. And he's like, okay, I'll go with you. And the next day he came back and he wanted another concession. I'm like, no, we're done. Dude, we're done. No, go with the other guy. I'm not doing this. Yeah. This is not what we do. This is not how I work. There are people that are just chronic price shoppers or they're price gougers. Those are the people that there's some people whose business you don't want. You want your competition to do it. It'll weaken the competition.
So right now in this market, right, we're going to, let's say that who knows, because for every time it's like, hey, rates are coming down. So they're not, right? But we know that there's direct to consumer.
I saw a great post that said, instead of a refi boom, it's a refi pop-up.
Yeah. Right. That's pretty funny. but there's direct to consumer. There's so many different models out there. Okay. So this individual here that hammers away at trigger leads that's paid $500 alone is your competition, right? They actually prey on, people that, maybe have relationships and, have these loans, and then they swoop in from a credit pull. Are we, so are we holding ourselves to that standard that's our competition? Like I don't. They might be 100 basis points.
This is where I think a lot of people transition over to the broker model for this reason, is that they go like, you know what? I keep losing deals to price. I'm going to go be a broker so that I can do that too. It's like, okay, well, see, that's to me, I don't want to work that hard for that much money and get deals because I had the lowest price. That's not the reason that I'm in this. I don't want to, like, now it's a race to the bottom and I'm not racing. I'm not, yeah. I have a different value proposition. I take some umbrage with, like, I have some younger guys that work here. And one of the arguments that I hear from them is it's different now. It's like so funny when people say it's different now. No, it's not. It's the same as it ever was. There's different ways of it. It's like, it's so much easier now. People can just go online and see what the rates are and they can just Google them. I was like, yeah, we had something called a daily newspaper. When I first got in the business, we had a daily newspaper. And in that newspaper, there was a one page ad or a half page ad every day of the week that listed in tiny little boxes. There'd be 100 lenders on there and everybody's listing their rates and everybody's listing they can close fast and everybody's listing all the programs they have. And it was just like, take your pick.
Do you believe that
was Google? Yeah. That was newspaper Google.
Yesteryear's Google.
And so there's always been competition.
Do you believe the Scotsman Guide rankings that you talk about, right? Do you believe, what percentage of those loan officers do you believe are selling the lowest price that are?
Well, based on the companies they work for, none of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is it that
that's not a thing?
My highest priced or competitive price guy can do 100 million, but you're in the same bucket, but no, it's not. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, the
it's
guys,
your value.
Yeah, exactly right. 100%. We could come. You're gonna have to come back. We're gonna have to do this again. This is really good. This is a great conversation.
We yeah.
No. This is what this is for. This is for because this is part of selling, is being able to overcome objections. This is a great subject matter. And I know we're going to wrap up. We're getting close to being able to do this, but I should have you come back. We should do this again sometime.
I'm always down.
Yeah, this would be fun.
I love it.
This is a good conversation. I think we are aligned in a lot of our thinking here. So that's fun to do. It's fun to have that conversation. You have anything else you want to add or anything else you want to share?
I appreciate you having me, and let's keep moving this industry forward. I mean, that's what it's all about. Running good teams, and we work for different places, but I think that's one thing that I love about the industry as well. A lot of collaboration goes into it, right? I think that as much as people can be competitors, you can grow. And
I've learned so much from
others, right?
Yeah, I've learned so much in this industry. That's one of the cool things about it too, is everybody's willing to share a little bit. Anyway, this has been Make the Call, everybody. I'm Dave Gallegos, and this is Dale Syta. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. This is another episode. Tell your friends. If you like the episode, please give it a rating and share it. And thanks a lot for joining.
Thank you for listening to Make the Call with Dave Gallegos, brought to you by Zenith Home Loans. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, and share the show with a friend or colleague who would also find value.